Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. I'm back on camera with a lot of very gently applied makeup on my face. I know, I know the people who like I talk to in DMs who watch my content because I swear every single one of them went Windex in the face. I sent one person a picture of what my eyelids actually look like right now when it's not very carefully caked on, and they were like, whoa. So I look strange. We'll work with it. Like, it's weird. I look like, when those ladies get like a ton of filler in their face, but it's not that. It's just all the swelling. But I am going to talk about Cobra Kai season 3. Gonna do it the same format as I usually do stuff. Talk about it without spoilers, do a big spoiler warning, and then talk about it with spoilers. But I think enough time has passed that we can talk about it. So I'll do this video and then we can talk about it on Twitch. Assuming my eyes are okay to do Twitch, I think so. I'll see. I haven't played any video games since it happened. What? I just said I hadn't played a video game in 24 hours. I'm having a moment. Anyway, if you like this sort of absurdity, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. I know everybody's broke right now, but it would really help out right now. Can't say more. So, Cobra Kai Season 3. Even though I recognize intellectually some of the issues with it, even though there were a few moments where I was legitimately like, ooh, not so good, the fact that it is utterly absurd and the logic just goes like out the window. It's not our world. It's like an alternate timeline where the 1980s kind of continued, sort of. Like it's like an alternate timeline going on in a world where apparently like law enforcement and parents and teachers are never around when they could be useful and only around when they can mess you up like they were in the 80s. So we can't like relate it to our world, but I do really think a lot of the truths that they deal with, even in a very heavy-handed schmaltzy way, they're things that modern viewing audience need to be reminded of. The thing, and I love the show, okay? And I thought season 3 was good. I liked it so much that they wrote out one of my favorite characters, and I didn't, I had moments where it's like, oh yeah, and then I just went back to watching it. Okay, and like I said, no spoilers, so I'm not going to say who. But the thing that makes Cobra Kai work so well is the simplicity of the concept. Everything is settled with a karate fight, right? And because the concept is so simple, they can really get into characters and, more importantly, the themes of things and really going back to basics. And I think some of the hot takes that I've seen, they keep focusing on the whiteness of the show, but I just think that's a distraction because they can't handle internalizing the actual methods of the message of the show, which is, all the rules in the world, all the policies, all the political correctness, all the safe space in the world can't make someone good. You can't force goodness. You have to give the opportunity for goodness, and punching up is still punching. Like that to me is the central theme of the way the show weighs who is the bully. The fact that different people think different people were the bullies. Someone is depicted as a bully in 1 minute and then they seem like bullied the next. It makes a very strong point that all those dynamics, the cycle has to be broken. You can't just switch what the power dynamics are and have a system like that intact. It just keeps perpetuating itself. And that's like soul food, right now for me personally. Okay, that's my review without spoilers. Spoiler time. From now on, you have been warned. Okay, you have been warned. The ending of every season of Cobra Kai is super huge, over the top. I don't think that season 3 like matched the sheer horror of that school brawl in season 2, but just the fact that they're fighting from inside the house was just like, and I know I'm not the only one who at numerous times during this season was screaming, call the cops, and the fact that they even try to address it in kind of a clever way, but what the hell, man, you still call the cops? Though I do think you're supposed to believe that part of the reason that Daniel doesn't involve law enforcement is just how guilty he feels. And I really thought that the strongest nostalgia moments, but also the best nod to the legacy of the series and a kind of tip of the hat, was the episodes where Daniel goes to Japan to try to save his company. And that a good thing he did many, many years ago came back to save him now, with, the lady he saved being in a high-ranking place in the company. I mean, obviously that stuff never happens to people in real life. It certainly doesn't happen to me. If that were so, I would not have had the week I had. But Cobra Kai can have those moments because of the whole thing they're doing with Mr. Miyagi's spirit. The fact that the actor is dead and they are still making Mr. Miyagi not just like, oh, he was there, not just honoring him. His spirit is a force. It is a presence. He continues to impact people, almost like really approaching a character of his own in places. And I mean, it's very much an American homage to the Japanese, the same way, the wind navigation in Ghost of Tsushima is. And I thought that, I mean, the fact that the Japanese characters from Karate Kid 2 were like 200% less stupid and stuck with their heads up their own asses than the Americans was really a nod to almost the series, painful self-awareness that, yeah, we're just playing at this stuff. We're just farting around with this stuff. Like, this is actually, an Asian martial art. Now, this gets into the whole thing about who culture belongs to. And I think that the constant digs at, hardcore modern political correctness are part of the writers going, if you're into that, you're not going to like this. You're not going to accept our message. So, right? I was surprised at how hard they hit in that regard. It was refreshing to me. And they're telling some serious truths in that they are showing how these so-called safe spaces and how these so-called, honor veterans and respect each other and zero tolerance and all that stuff, how rigid things like that, how you got to do certain things, you got to check a certain box, tip a certain hat, because reasons, even if it's inauthentic, it shows how it can be manipulated by bad actors. Some of the other things I was less kind of, I get what they were going for with the daughter, Samantha. And again, it's an 80s thing. I thought the fact that they showed her having a traumatic response at all was pretty much essential, right? She'd been through a lot. I liked the fact that at critical moments, she just froze. And I liked the fact that they were showing that sort of spiral. Now, the point that it became unscientific and not medically sound, and I'm just saying this so people know, is when basically, the spirit of Mr. Miyagi had her find her inner strength. If you've got a trauma response, it's not about strength. It's about your, your physiological systems working against you, and you actually have to physically train yourself out of that again. But that's a Wellness Wednesday topic starting tomorrow. It was still a better depiction of trauma than on a lot of network television shows. And I think the characters are more well-rounded, as silly as the concept is, and how very rooted in nostalgia the concept is, than those really expensive, premium cable kind of HBO AMC shows. I mean, let's face it, the way they're doing with like good intense and evil intense and good energy and bad energy and all that stuff, it's very similar to what they did in Breaking Bad. But it's so far less up its own ass, right? It seems so not impressed with itself. And it just seems to be telling a good story. And I really enjoy that. I mean, the other thing, of course, is how quickly Miguel learns to walk again. Again, this is not real. I'm pointing this out so that it takes months of that. The school year would be so far over. I have friends who had to go through that process, and I can imagine some people. I like the fact they kept showing him falling. I like the fact that, there was sort of a psychological component to it. But again, there's sort of an element of magic going on there that we have to recognize. And we have to recognize that those implausible moments are not, it's not a bug of the series, it's a feature. And you either have to accept that or you're never going to like it, right? The characters you're supposed to loathe are depicted with a dignity. And one of the things I find interesting is that in so many cases with the villains, and the villains just, keep getting more vile, but they explain why these are bad people without excusing the fact that they're bad people. They're not trying to say Kreese or even Tori. I mean, I give them credit for showing a girl bully, You feel very sorry for Tori. Does it explain why she's so awful? No, it doesn't. People make choices, right? And Kreese is the same way. You see his backstory. Personally, I thought it went on a little long and it was kind of predictable. But, it explains him. It doesn't excuse him. It doesn't absolve him. We're never going to root for him. He's a monster. And what I like about it is that even monsters like that, they are people with backstories who once cared about people. And it's all about a choice of, Miyagi-Do karate is all about karate being primarily for self-defense, right? Not offense, defense. And I think where they're going is that Daniel kind of forgot that. And he sort of needed to go back to his friends from Karate Kid 2 to be reminded that you don't end a fight by fighting. You end a fight by taking away the fight. And that's a difficult lesson to translate into real life where things aren't settled in karate fights. I still think it's useful. And I do like the way that Cobra Kai separates moral victories from actual winning victories. And I do think Johnny Lawrence, the other sensei, what is it now? Eagle thing? Karate? Oh God, I laughed. So many great lines. So many lines you cannot repeat in public because they're just, you can't. And I mean, the only one I can repeat is eagles don't get shit on. Yeah, they sometimes do, but that is just a line that's just so much of his perspective, right? And why this like cheesy 80s rock symbolism means so much to him. right? And there's an example of a character that actually is being redeemed, even though he's still a horrendous screw up. And, you know, he does care about Miguel, and he did help him in an unorthodox way that probably wasn't the smartest, but Johnny wasn't the smartest. I do like that they brought back Allie, the Elizabeth Shue character. Remember, I said there's spoilers, to give him closure from the lingering, the lingering resentment that him and Daniel have. He had like a good day with her. I think it gave him back a sense of himself. And, when he found out that Daniel and Allie broke up just because they kind of broke up, like, it was just stupid and something people do and so normal, and like, that it just wasn't meant to be, right? And I think that scene where the four of them, Daniel's wife and Johnny and Allie and Daniel were talking was a really cool thing. The thing that is neat about Cobra Kai over and over and over again is when Daniel and Johnny forget they hate each other. They get along really well. And that, again, it doesn't work so neatly in real life. The way almost everybody goes back to being friends at the end. It doesn't work that neatly in life. But again, these are metaphors. And they're almost like ethical abstractions that we can take the point. We can say in a perfect world, or at least the perfectly imperfect world of media, that these things can happen. We recognize it's not so neat in the real world. But what I think was true, even though there's so little fact in it, is that both sides have to want to make amends, and both sides have to put something in to making amends for it to work. And, the thing I am most torn on that point, and sort of as a final thing, because now I'm just fangirling. Like, these are just tangible details about the stuff I said off the top. The one I was most, happy happened. Like, the thing I was most happy is that Dimitri and Hawk went back to being friends. But that's the thing, upon reflection, the more I think about it, the more I think, no. One, Hawk can't get off that easy. He was a horrible asshole. And again, there are reasons, but he was a horrible asshole. He broke Dimitri's arm. Like, they're not just going to go back to being buds without more happening. But Dimitri's one of my favorite characters. The Samantha's friend, the girl whose dad was an NFL player, I really liked her in the past 2 seasons. She wasn't in it at all. Like, I thought it was believable based on what they showed of her parents that they, pulled her out of all of it. Like, they relocated her in schools because it was insane. That was straight up made sense with the overprotective parents they were. I actually think that watching that character be a part of this season, all the corrupting influence of that season, they wouldn't be able to go back from that. So even though I really like her as a character, I think they made the right call by not including her. Because, the one who's going down a very dark path is Robbie. And we don't have time to get into that. And there's a lot of unanswered questions with him. He was almost the guy that everybody forgot about, which is believable when somebody goes to jail. They're just removed from life and people have to go on. And, but yeah, the angle where Kreese pushed Hawk too far by recruiting Hawk's bully, that was really interesting. Really, really interesting. And that is what I feel like we're just on the edge of so many fronts in like gaming and nerddom in general. You can only bully someone from their own good to make them tough and strong and teach them no mercy and strike first and all that crap. You can only push that so long before it backfires on you. it only lasts so long. It only works so long. People can only be motivated by fear and pain for so long. The human condition needs food. The spirit needs food. And if you don't give it, people rebel. And, then they're coming at you because you were an asshole. So even though, like I said, the show is ridiculous, I freaking loved it. So I'll wrap here. I'll do a boss fight episode update after this. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching. Okay, so for people still watching, caption disaster on boss fight episode 3. Okay, I have not started boss fight episode 4 yet. Well, except for one bit in the can that's been in the can for a while. So technically it is started, but I have been throwing good time after bad trying to do a new caption system since the episode aired. Because if the on-site YouTube captioning worked for me, it would be amazing. The timing's already set, kind of. The problem is I go in there, I edit 2 captions, to work, to save, and then I try to do another one and the whole thing just blanks. There's something wrong with it. The same way there's something wrong with my ability to upload to YouTube from this computer. So I have 3 choices now. One is a non-starter. One is just don't do captions. Leave the crappy ones that are there. No, I refuse to. Either I get help and someone who knows how to type captions can take the file I can download from YouTube and put it into proper, SRT format so I can re-upload it to YouTube. Basically, you'd have to just there's a script, but it's not totally accurate to what's said because of editing and all that stuff. But there's a file there. It's just a lot of words are wrong and a lot of the timing's wrong and some lines just don't register at all. So if someone knows how and is willing to do it, please contact me because I would really, really appreciate it. I'll give you a credit in the next show for the captioning. I'll give you a thank you on the video. I cannot afford to pay anyone right now. Unfortunately, I have to keep the money left from the show to do the shipping. And I don't have much money for myself right now because of my own kind of Cobra Kai, I got screwed hard and people lied scenario that I'm going on through right now. But that would really help me out. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to do it myself and it's going to be another setback, but I have to do it, right? So what I may do is try to multitask, do a little bit of captioning on episode 3, go work on episode 4 kind of thing. Episode 4 is written. Like I said, I want to do a bit of rewriting on it. I want to do a lot of rewriting on episode 5. But it's written. I just have to shoot it. And I'm just so beat up and tired right now that starting anything right now just seems like a huge climb. And obviously, my face has to heal before I do any shooting. But, even if that didn't happen, I'm just so tired and beaten down right now and just tired of being insulted and being called names and being yelled at and all that stuff that I'm just tired. I'm tired. That's the status update. I am exhausted. I got maybe 3 days of rest during the Christmas break because I was so behind on just all the stuff I'm trying to do to keep my head above water financially that I'm just worn out. I'll get back on the horse. I will get better eventually, but I'm being honest with you guys that basically is the status right now. I'm temporarily down for the count and I'm working through it. So letting you guys know because transparency is part of my deal. But yeah, if anybody knows how to do captions and is willing to do that, I'd really appreciate it. Again, I can't expect anything because I can't pay anything. But it is helping people who, the whole goal of me doing captions for this project in the first place was so that people who are hearing impaired can have the same experience and not get this crappy auto-generated thing like a subpar experience. I'm still going to deliver on that eventually, just one way or another, right? All right, I'll shut up now. Thanks everybody for listening to me kind of go, and thank you for your support. Thanks for watching.